Hello, everyone. I'm Anthony,
And I'm Eric.
and this is the worst sports talk show in history. Total football talk. Eric,
Nice.
do you want to comment?
I mean, honestly, we're not the worst.
I would agree. I would also
Yes, I'm laughing.
I would also agree we're not the best, but we never claimed to be the best either, did we? So, I
If you
will.
guys don't know, if you guys don't know what we're talking about, go read the message board from the last show.
Yeah. Well, the only thing that I found a little shocking about the comment wasn't that somebody doesn't like our show, because that's going to happen from time to time. It's the fact that the comment after we had responded, which I felt was not only very cordial, very polite and respectful, but then we were called, like, I forget the term, but basically saying that,
We were called butthurt.
yeah, which I was literally saying, I hope you find what you're looking for. And you were genuinely looking for constructive criticism that we could work with. So, to that individual, if you are watching this one, please feel free to comment those constructive criticisms, because we're more than open. And
And you know what? They claim that they've seen a lot of shows, so it's not like he's saying, Anthony, you keep saying San Diego instead of Los Angeles for the Chargers. People still say San Diego, and they've been there 2 years now.
yeah, and the difference is I'm doing it deliberately, because they're as much a part of LA as I am an African American NBA MVP All-Star. So, I mean, in theory, they are definitely in LA. And according to the politics today, in theory, I can identify as whatever the hell I want, and you can't tell me no. But in reality, they're not a part of the LA landscape, and I'm not what I just said I was. So I don't know. At least we're consistent. That's all I can ask for. And we've never decided to do this show, necessarily to make money. We did the show because, I did the show. I started it because I got frustrated with the same old talking heads talking about the same old teams with the same old rhetoric, demonstrating day in and day out an extreme gross negligence of NFL history. And then they're claiming that they're the NFL experts. And I'm like, you guys aren't even, you're not even WNBA experts, let alone NFL experts. Like, you don't know anything pre 2001, and that's what I got. That's what I got upset about. And then when the Rams moved to LA, I wanted to do my part to show the support for the Rams getting back home. And then you jumped on the show because of your expertise in broadcasting and wanting to also bring to light your talents and abilities and your frustrations in covering teams, because everyone deserves coverage. Am I wrong on that?
You're not wrong at all.
So that's why we do the show. And it's, for people like the gentleman that made the comments, and for, people like Cliff and LT and AM and
Forever.
and MM Forever and April, those that say good things, obviously we do the show for them too. So, yeah, that is what it is at this point. So I do want to touch a little bit on the games. We'll cover the Rams last, but I'll take the lead here because I am going to toot my own horn. So I was telling Eric that I was just watching the previous show before he called, and my analysis on the 49er Brown game was unequivocally spot on. I said the 49ers were going to dominate in the running game. They were going to put pressure on Baker Mayfield, and I said they were going to score 31 points, and I said they were going to win and build separation from the Rams. They did all of that. The only thing that didn't happen was the 27 points by the Browns. They never got past 3. So I want to tip my hat, first of all, to the 49er Nation out there and say your team looks really good. And I don't buy into this garbage. They haven't played anybody, because Now we have a common opponent. We played the Browns. They played the Browns. We barely beat Cleveland. It took the final play of the game to prevent overtime, and they blew the doors off of them. So
Yeah, but you also played on the road.
I don't care.
They played at home.
I don't care. That, to me, the road home thing, really, we're going to sit here and say the Browns have a dominant home field advantage?
Not at all.
Okay.
The Browns haven't had a dominant home field advantage since Municipal Stadium.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So they might have been on the road, but the Rams, under McVay at least, have been a very good road team. So, you know, it is what it is. But I have some real concerns watching that game. And none of it has to do with, concerns for the 49ers. It's concerns of the 49ers because, man, they look like one of the best teams in the NFC right now. And again, we'll see when they play tougher opponents down the stretch that they inevitably will, including the Rams next week. But I'm going to go on a limb and say I don't think the Rams are that much more of an improved football team than the Browns. I think they're better than the Browns, and I definitely think that'll be a good measuring stick for San Fran. But look, the Rams can't stop the run, and I'll get into my analysis on this eventually, but the 49ers are the best running team in football, and they look good doing it. Started the game with an 83-yard touchdown run by Breida. Continued to run the ball. They had two backs over 100 yards. Coleman looks good. McGlinchey, who should have been a Ram, but instead got drafted by the 49ers. And now we have Havenstein and they have McGlinchey. Slight advantage for the 49ers there. And by slight, I mean gigantic, ginormous, whatever you want to call it. But it is what it is, right? That's the cards that's dealt. So kudos to the 49ers, Eric, because they impressed the hell out of me in that game. Your takeaway.
Yeah, I showed, the Sunday night game, and we're going to get into that too, and the Monday night game. Man, I saw two teams get taken to the woodshed. And obviously we're talking about the 49ers and Browns, but the Browns have so many problems right now. And, I mean, yes, they're still alive in the AFC North, but right now, I'm going to say they're barely hanging on. And the only reason why they're barely hanging on is because they went into Baltimore and whooped up the Ravens.
Yeah.
And they actually look like a good football team then, but right now, man, they don't look anything like a good football team. They have problems. You have a really quiet running back who all he does is run and gain yards. You have two wide receivers who coincidentally went to the same college, played on the same team for a year, and you can't even get either of them the ball. And then you have a quarterback. Yeah, he's in his second year. Kitchens was a running backs coach before he got boosted to offensive coordinator after Hugh Jackson got fired, and they took off and he threw a crap ton of touchdown passes. Came second in rookie of the year voting, and I want to see that quarterback back. Like there should be no excuses why you're not performing and putting up statistics and putting up points on the board with the talent that you have around you. The Browns are very undisciplined. Their offensive line is very leaky. I mean, goodness, we talked a lot about Joey Bosa way back when he went to the Chargers, and he's all right. He's got foot injuries, foot problems. He's not going to be what he could be. I've heard it all with Joey Bosa, but yeah, I'll tell you, Nick Bosa looks like a freaking stud. He ate Baker for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then he went out to Dairy Queen for dessert. And was like, I'm gonna have another blizzard of Baker, please.
I love the flag celebration on the last play of the first half. That was what old football used to be like. Holding grudges, long memories, bringing it. Look, it sucks that the 49ers are good from one perspective. But I will tell you, I think this is exactly what the Rams needed. And I'll get into that when we get into the Ram 49er rivalry. But the Rams needed the Niners to be good, not Seattle. And Seattle isn't very good. They got lucky to beat us. We played poorly. we were one-dimensional in the second half, and we still almost pulled the victory out. I'm going to get to the Ram game in a minute. Seattle doesn't concern me. They're 4-1 now. They'll be 9-7, maybe 8, maybe 10-6 if they sweep us, which I don't think they will. And that's going to be Seattle. Do I expect them to go in and beat Cleveland? Maybe. I do think the Browns at home are. They're going to want to right this ship, and we're going to find everything out that we need to know about the Cleveland Browns next Sunday. But I will say this. The Browns made a calculated mistake in the very beginning of this whole thing. The biggest mistake the Browns made was not retaining Greg Williams as head coach and hiring this dipstick as head coach. I'm an Alabama fan. I know Freddie Kitchens. He was a garbage quarterback at Alabama. He was a garbage coordinator or running backs coach. I don't know why he got elevated, because if you remember, right, the Browns couldn't run the ball when Freddie Kitchens was their running backs coach. Then he became the OC, and he had Greg Williams over him, making sure he ran the football and staying on top of it and dealing with the day-to-day stuff. And the Browns were a good football team last year. The worst thing the Browns could have done was hire this inexperienced, no-talent hack as their head coach. Now, he's better than Hugh Jackson, but that's like saying I'm better at predicting football games than a 2-year-old. Like, okay, but is that really what you want? Right? Now, maybe for you guys it is, because I'm brutally honest, but I would think you'd want a level of professionalism out of people like me and Eric making our picks. There's a lot of people out there that do these shows, and they have more subscribers than I do, and they do more things than I do. But I would argue they are not as in-depth as we are and treat this more as a fan-friendly show, right? Like, this is like a podcast. Realistically, we shouldn't be putting this on YouTube. We should be putting this to podcast, but I can't figure podcasts out, and we're going to have to wait a year till Eric comes out until we can figure all that stuff out. But I think for what we do it better than most. And sure, you can get other people out there that have all the bells and whistles, but at the end of the day, you want quality, not necessarily quantity. And with the Browns, yeah, it's better than Hugh Jackson, but that's about all you got. And I just think it was a big mistake that the Browns made. I've never been a fan of Freddie Kitchens. I think he's way in over his head. He doesn't know how to coach, and the Browns are going to suffer the consequences of it. And he's lucky that the AFC North is so down this year, because they may make the playoffs at 8-8. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Well, that's why we're only 5 games in, and there's still time for them to right the ship. But it's getting harder and harder to watch them every week.
Well, they're certainly not exciting. I'll tell you that much. The other game that you picked, Eric, I believe was the Cowboys and Packers, was it not?
Yeah, that was a great take by me.
Yeah. Well, I'm the one that said Dallas would blow out Green Bay.
Talk about another team that got taken to the woodshed.
Yeah, so let's talk about my predictions, right? I said the Cowboys would win 41-10 or 41-13, whatever I said. Wow, was I wrong. I don't understand how people cannot figure out who Aaron Rodgers throws to. It's deep ball to Geronimo Allison. It's intermediate routes to the other receiver. But Aaron Rodgers didn't beat the Dallas Cowboys yesterday or Sunday. It was that kid. It was that running back, Aaron Jones, I believe, right?
Yeah, 4 touchdowns.
Dude, that kid was fun to watch. And
he came in. He was like, I got a chip on my shoulder. Zeke's not a better running back than me, and I'm gonna match him yard for yard. Well, dude, that's great. Everybody has a good running game every now and then. You won't score more than 1 touchdown in another game this year. I'll put my bottom dollar on that one. Because Rodgers had no touchdown passes. He's gonna want to throw a touchdown pass. Yeah, like he's not gonna go. they'll be lucky to go another game without a touchdown pass. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting. It was interesting that I liked if Green Bay is going to play football that way this year, they're going to be just fine. They may very well play San Francisco in the NFC Championship game. And I'm not saying that tongue in cheek. I'm being dead serious. If they're going to lean on Aaron Jones to run the ball in crucial situations and inside the red zone when Aaron Rodgers can't deliver on first down, they're going to be just fine. But if they're going to put it on Aaron Rodgers' shoulders, then they're going to barely win the division and maybe get a playoff win, and that's it. Because we've seen this dog and pony show with Aaron Rodgers. We know how it ends. Outside of 1 year, we know how it goes. So, kudos to Green Bay for putting the ball in Aaron Rodgers' hands in key situations, but running the ball in key goal-to-go situations and getting that touchdown that Aaron Rodgers, I don't believe, would have delivered. I mean, look at the Bear game.
They made it a point, as we've talked about a lot. And, yeah, I mean, I give credit to where credit's due when you actually put pen to paper in that pencil, because you can always erase. But this is what the Packers should have done against Philly the week before.
Yeah.
But, they threw it 4 times from inside the 5-yard line and 3 incompletions and a pick. Okay? So they're like, okay, well, now we're going to run it when we get there. And they ran it. And the Cowboys had no answer. Like, where was Vander Esch? Where was Smith? Where was their defensive line? And I know you're not a big Vander Esch fan, and that's fine, but I want to know where those guys were. Like, they didn't show up during the run game.
Eric, they didn't show up in the playoffs against the Rams either. When they play,
no, nobody did. Not even their offense. It's not just on them.
When they play better competition, they fold. Period. Dallas, we were all high on because they were doing what they were supposed to do. Now the Niners are starting to reach critical mass, right? Now they play the Rams, a better team than anybody they've seen so far this year, right? Then after the Ram game, San Francisco gets, hold on a minute, I'm looking at it right now. I just had it. Forget that. They got Washington. That's a joke. Carolina. They got Carolina week 8. Then week 10, they got Seattle. And then week 11, they got another good matchup. I'm kidding. It's Arizona. Jeez. Green Bay week 12. So the Niners are one of those teams that really could be, 10-2 by the end of week 12. With their only 2 losses being maybe to Seattle. I don't think so. I think they'll beat Seattle. I definitely think they're going to struggle with Green Bay just because Aaron Rodgers is going to miss wide open receivers like Baker Mayfield did. The Niners are one of those teams.
Where's that game at?
That game is in San Fran.
Okay. Yeah. And where did Aaron Rodgers go to school? Yeah, he's going to want to put out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, that's going to be, by then, we would have seen 3 quality opponents play San Francisco. And 2 of them at home and 1 of them on the road. So we'll have a better idea, I think, by week 12 going into that game where the Niners stand. Dallas, we kind of know, right? They play a good team, they're going to struggle, and they're going to lose. They play bad teams, they're going to blow them out. Dallas is on the bubble of being really good, but they've got a lot to go. And I keep saying it, and I'll say it again. Dallas, pay the man. I want you to pay Dak Prescott $500 million because he's such a great quarterback. I would love for Dallas to sign Dak because then they've got all their money caught up in an average quarterback who's dependent on talent around him with no money to put talent around him. So as a Ram fan, pay the man. You think he's 2 times better than Jared Goff? Pay him 2.5 times the money that Jared Goff got paid. I think Jared got paid 110, pay him 250. 300,000 or 300 million. Just go for it. All in. Go Dak. Sign the man. Anyway, Dallas, now we know, right? Dallas plays a good team. Dallas probably going to lose. Whether home, whether away, it's out there. And their defense, real quick, their defense, it doesn't adjust well when they get punched in the mouth. And I think that's going to be a problem for Dallas moving forward, especially when they play Philly, because you know they're going to get a heavy dosage or a heavy dose of Howard down their throat. And if they can't stop it, they're going to be in a lot more than a little bit of trouble.
So, does Jason Garrett survive the season?
No, Jason Garrett gets fired at the end of the year. You ready for my bold prediction?
Go ahead.
The next head coach of the Washington Redskins is going to be Jason Garrett.
Hold on. Oh, wow. Okay.
That's my bold prediction.
Well, since Snyder took over, a Redskins head coach has never had a winning record, and the Redskins are 1-11 since Alex Smith went down.
Yep.
And you think Jason Garrett can change all that?
I do. I think with Jason Garrett, you've got a couple of things. You've got a guy that can work with a quarterback, and look, he did a really good job with Dak Prescott. You can't argue the results. Tony Romo was a good quarterback, and who coached him? Right? Right. So I think if you're really, and this is my thinking, if I'm the Redskins and I'm really concerned and I really want Haskins because I invested all that capital in him in the draft, right? I want Haskins to have a shot, then I got to bring in somebody who can coach him. Maybe not, and here's the thing. I'll say this about Snyder. He showed patience with John Gruden. I think he'll show patience with Jason Garrett. He knows how bad this Redskin team is. So what better situation than a former Dallas Cowboy quarterback and a former Dallas Cowboy head coach to turn the organization around than a that just makes that rivalry that much more fascinating in the NFL.
Yeah, but it's not just the head coach, though. I mean, they gotta let go of the GM. They gotta let go of everybody between the head coach and Snyder.
Well, maybe they don't. Maybe they get rid of the GM and it's Snyder direct line to the head coach, and whether that's the head coach.
Well, then you have a Jerry Jones type of deal, and does Garrett really want that again?
Well, but he knows how to handle it, and I'm not saying that Jason or that.
He does, but
hold on. I'm not saying. First of all, Eric Snyder's not going to be a GM. I'm thinking he's going to allow for Jason Garrett to be the GM. Because what was one of the criticisms? One of the criticisms was from John Gruden, he had no say in the process. So they bring in Garrett and say, Jason, we're going to give you say in the process. I just think that's going to happen. Now, whether it's Gruden or not, or whether it's Garrett or not, whoever the next Redskin coach is, look for them to get GM duties assigned to them. So there's no excuses. John Gruden is a joke. I've been calling for him to be fired for a long, long time. Okay?
Gruden, buddy.
Huh?
Wrong Gruden.
Jay Gruden. Sorry, I keep saying John. John Gruden beat your Bears. We're going to get to that in a minute. Jay Gruden has been a problem in Washington for a long, long time. That is a case where the man should have been fired years ago, but Snyder showed patience with him. I'm sorry. You can blame whoever you want, but it was so rich that Jay Gruden wanted to blame injuries on his lack of success. Dude, you are the head coach. What are you doing through the course of the week to cause so much wear and tear on your players that they're getting decimated week in and week out, year in and year out on the injury front?
Nothing. That's the problem. Because you know what Jay Gruden's doing at practice when he was there? He's looking at Snapchat.
Probably. Because I'll tell you, say what you want about McVay right now, guys, and I know there's a lot of fans that are mad at McVay. McVay came in and fixed the injury problem immediately. And we have not had injury problems in LA since McVay's been there. That's what great coaches do. That's what good coaches do. When's the last time New England got decimated by the injury bug?
2008.
Yeah. When's the last time a Bill Belichick coached football team lost all 5 linemen, all 3 reserves, and had to sign guys off the street mid-year? Never. Never. How many times did Jay Gruden do that through the course of his career? 3 years. 3 times in his coaching tenure, he had to do that. He's a joke. He's garbage, and that man will get another job because it's recycled dog poop. But he's garbage. And I hope to God he goes somewhere in our division, because I want to see that team just get wrecked by injuries again, and the Rams just steamroll them every year. They're a joke. He's a joke. Good riddance to bad rubbish. I don't care who replaces him. This is a lost year for Washington. I'm going to get to something there in a minute. But
the interim head coach is Bill Callahan.
yeah, I know who it is. Their O-line coach. So, with Dallas and Green Bay, you now have your formula to be a very good football team. Are you going to allow LeBron James, Aaron Rodgers, to coach your football team and take that away? Or are you going to put your foot down and say, shut your face, shut your mouth, shut your pie hole, sit down, shut up, do what I tell you to do, we're going to win football games? Does LaFleur have the set between his legs to do that? I don't know. What do you think?
I'm hoping they let Aaron Rodgers take the reins.
As a Bear fan, I bet you are, buddy. All right.
It really is simple for Green Bay, but when you have a $300 million quarterback, you're going to want him to leave, but you know what? You got to feed Aaron Jones. He's going to provide ball control and allow the Green Bay Packers to pretty much walk down every single field that they play on and score touchdowns.
Right. And as soon as they put 8 guys in the box to stop them, now you turn your $300 million quarterback loose. It's a lose-lose proposition for any defense. Speaking of losing, your Chicago Bears. Rough one in London, buddy.
Yep, sure was.
What the hell happened?
I'll tell you what happened. Egos. And why do you limit there? Why are you saying egos? Well, I'll tell you, the Raiders played in London last year. They got smoked because they left later in the week. Oakland left Indianapolis after the game, and they went to London. Their body clock was already adjusted by midweek. The Bears left Thursday morning. We all know when you take an Atlantic flight to the east, you always go in the late afternoon, early evening, so then you get there in the morning, you sleep on the plane. How about that? The Bears left Thursday morning, got there whatever time they got there because of a 6-hour time change and a 5-hour, 3.5, 4 hour flight. So, it's already like 11 o'clock at night. They just weren't ready. They weren't ready until halftime was over, and they were only ready for one quarter. It was a bad display of defense. Josh Jacobs looked like Marcus Allen running through the Bears line. 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. I was like, what is going on here? There was no Tyrell Williams. There was no J.J. Nelson. There was no Cleveland Farrell on the Raiders' defensive line. And the Raiders played like the Bears played against Minnesota, and the Bears played like the Raiders played in week 2.
Yeah. I don't know.
It was brutal. Like, okay, so I'm watching the game and I'm like, stop somebody! Like, what the heck's going on here? 17-0 at halftime. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, where's the defense? And then the Raiders become the Raiders. Derek Carr pitches the ball well past Josh Jacobs. I don't know if Jacobs was thinking that it was a naked bootleg or something, or what. The pitch game went past him one thing they didn't do was fall on the ball. That could have saved the touchdown. The Bears capitalized. Bears got the ball back. Bears scored. Bears made it 21-17. It's like, all right, the Bears are back. Like, it only took a half, and I know there's 4 quarters to a football game. I know somebody on this show always say there's 4 quarters to a football game.
Yep.
But, you know, and then the fourth quarter hit, and, of course, running into the kicker, 5-yard penalty, 4th and 1, the Raiders go for it and get a fake punt. I'm like, really? Seriously? And then they score a touchdown, they go up 24-20. I'm like, okay, you know what? There's a minute 57 left. The Bears have had really good returns in the return game. Patterson kicked it out of the end zone. Like, we can expect the Bears to drive it and do really well. Well, earlier in the game, I literally, okay, there's only one way to watch a football game on TV, and that's wherever camera's on it, and it shows, like, the length of the football field. And Chase Daniel's first interception, okay, I even saw the linebacker that he was looking at that was going to pick it off. I could have told you it was going to get picked off when it did. Like, he didn't even see him. I don't know what the heck he was looking at, but I was like, he's going to throw it to that guy, number 50, and I'm like, don't throw it. But sure enough, he throws it. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm like, how can I see this looking at it like I'm in the stands, but he can't see it. He's looking right at him. It doesn't make sense.
No.
But then they're driving in the fourth quarter under the 2-minute warning. And it's like, okay, run here, pass there, out pass. I'm like, yeah, you know, 5-yard passes, like, I don't care. It's like, perfect. Let's just nickel and dial them down the field. Like, all we need is a field goal. Just get close enough for field goal range. Because Pinheiro injured himself on a kick earlier in the game. So, you know, hopefully he hit close enough and he can hit a field goal. And they're at the 47-yard line of the Raiders. So it's seriously like, a minute and a half left, a minute 15 left. And what are you doing throwing deep down the field 20 yards? Like, you don't need to do that. And I was like, and then I saw the replay. I'm like, oh, okay, Anthony Miller, he pulled up. Like, he broke his route and tried to sit somewhere. And Daniel was like, oh, well, you know, here it is. And he threw it into where 3 Raiders were, and that was the game. I'm like, well, what are you doing throwing that deep? What are you doing as a second-year receiver breaking off your route when you barely played last year and you're getting a lot of run now? Doesn't make you think that you know what you're doing because you should own your mistake. You haven't yet, so I'm waiting for that to happen. And the Bears still couldn't get their run game going. Like, David Montgomery was getting bottled up like no other. It's not Montgomery's fault, okay? It's the offensive line who freaking blocked. They let the Raiders defensive line look like 4 Khalil Macks coming at them. And even though Khalil Mack didn't do crap except for a fumble recovery on that bad pitch, like, he was nowhere to be found. It's like, where's the defense? And, yeah, the defense was left back in the States.
Dude, you got to figure out this running. You got to figure out this running game.
It was bad. The only teams that we have more yards per game against offensively are the Jets and Dolphins, so that's not saying much right now.
No, it's bad in Chicago. The offense is a problem, and it's so much of a problem that I'm looking at that Ram-Bear game, and I'm going, the Rams are probably going to win it. And we talked about in the beginning of the year that being a real difficult game for both of our teams. But
Hold your horses. You lost to Tampa Bay.
yeah, and you just lost to the Raiders.
Yeah, well, so?
Okay, so of course it's the same. Whatever. Look, it's going to be interesting to see what Chicago does to fix this problem. They've got a bye week. Hopefully Trubisky comes back and he gets a chance to right his ship because he wasn't exactly floating. He was kind of sinking as well when he was in there. The Bears need help. And they need to really restructure what they're doing and refocus on defense.
I'll tell you what, you know, you say they need help, you know. Every year, the last couple of years, I don't want to say every year, but the last couple of years, I always think that the trade deadline is going to be more active than it is. And go on and trade for Emmanuel Sanders. Seriously.
Yeah.
He'd be a perfect complement to your number 2, and Robinson could be your number 1. Okay, Sanders has been tearing it up. He tore it up a lot earlier in the year. I still think he's got a lot left. But then that puts Gabriel in the slot where he should be. And if you run a 4 wide receiver set, that puts Miller in the other slot position.
Yeah. Well,
But okay, yeah, you're putting the team up maybe a second or third round pick, but hey, if that's what can happen with the offense, why not?
Hey, here's what I want to do. In replacement of the Bear game, since they're on a bye week, I want to discuss the trade deadline. What you think the Bears should do. I'm going to tell you what I think the Rams should do. And we'll do that instead of picking a fourth game. So you still get to pick one game. We'll cover the Ram 49er game, and then I'm going to pick one game. And then we'll wrap the show up with that. Because I've got a lot to say, and I actually think this trade deadline is going to be the most active in NFL history. I really believe that. Just because there's such a logjam of 2-2, 2-3 football teams, and other teams like the Rams that are going to be 3-3, 5-3 going into the bye week, where they're not going to be sellers, but it's clear what they need to fix, and there's people out there for them to be had. And you've got teams like the 49ers, teams like the Redskins that don't need to keep their capital. They've got to build draft picks and players, and they may have an option to do so. And I got a solution to that problem that Ram fans may or may not like, but I'll get to that later. I want to talk about the Ram game. So I don't know if the gentleman that we're talking about thinks my show is terrible because he's one of those Ram fans that think the Rams are going to win every single game, and any criticism of the Rams is unjustified. And one of those, the Rams offensive line isn't the problem, it's Jared Goff Ram fans. I don't know which of those it is. What I do know is I was right. I said that the Seahawks would beat us. I thought they were going to beat us by much more than they did, which I think is a real credit to Sean McVay. Now, I'm going to ride McVay a little bit here at the end, but I want to give credit where credit's due. McVay went more 12 personnel. That's 2 tight ends. He went and kept Gurley in the backfield, which is not something I'm necessarily a fan of, but he had no choice. And they gave help to Havenstein. And that adjustment led to a touchdown before half and really got the Rams back in the game in the second half. Great adjustments. So hopefully there'll be more of that moving forward. With that being said, the Rams, look, Eric, you know how I feel about Jared Goff. I have not been this high on a Ram quarterback since Kurt Warner. And I think he's every bit as capable of being to the LA Rams what Kurt Warner was to the St. Louis Rams.
I seriously thought you were going to say Tony Banks.
Well, screw you. I will stab you in the throat the next time I see you. But the reality is, like Kurt Warner, we lose to the Patriots. And that was 24-3 until the offense woke up. The difference between Super Bowl 36 and Super Bowl 53 is the offense never woke up. The Rams players caught those passes that the Ram players didn't catch in this Super Bowl. And really, if they make 2 catches, they win the game, 17-13. So, yeah, the Cooks drop just before the pick, and you had I want to say Cooks again, dropped another one in the back of the end zone in the third quarter that would have made it 10-6 or 10-3 Rams. So, which would have taken the Saints or the Patriots running game out, I believe, at that point. And I think the Rams could have really teed off on Tom Brady, and maybe they score another 2 touchdowns and win that thing 24-3, ironically. But it is what it is. It didn't happen. He dropped it. That's the end of the story. And it was a 3-3 game when he dropped it. But I like Jared Goff. But, you know, there's some quarterbacks in NFL history that I really love watching play. Joe Montana, Troy Aikman, Joe Theismann. In a lot of respects, Jim McMahon, just because he was gritty, Brett Favre. But these guys, even then, you can't put the whole team on their backs and have them carry you week in and week out. The Rams have to run the ball. And never was this more relevant than at the end of the game. So I'm going to fast forward to the end because there's a lot to talk about. Havenstein got beat like a mule all first quarter long and into the second quarter until they made the adjustment. Goff looked great, saved the Rams. It looked like from certain disaster, gave us a lead late, Defense gave it up again. Secondary continues to have problems. I'll touch on that after this. But the bottom line is, at the end of the game, we're in position to win it. Now, Greg the Leg missed a field goal. I think it's his third or fourth miss of the year. These things are going to happen. Super Bowl hangover, whatever you want to call it. I'm not worried about Greg the Leg. I'm not. He's made crucial kicks. He'll continue to make crucial kicks. We're going to win a lot of football games this year because of Greg the Leg at the end. This just, unfortunately for us, it wasn't one of them. But I want to say why it wasn't one of them. With 20 seconds to go and no timeouts, you have the ball at the 35-yard line. Now, this is a key sequence. I'm screaming at the television for the Rams to run the ball. All you got to do is ask Greg, where do you want? Right hash, center, or left hash? Find out where he wants the ball. Run Todd Gurley. They're not going to expect it with 20 seconds left. You're probably going to get a 6, 7, 8-yard run out of Todd Gurley. You're going to be 6, 7, 8 yards closer. You spike the ball. Now you have fourth down. You trot the field goal team out there, and you win the game. What do the Rams do? They throw it. Before they can throw it, what happens? Well, the greatest right tackle in professional football history, Rob Havenstein, false starts. First one of the game, but his third penalty of the game, putting the Rams back 5 yards. What do? 7-yard completion, putting the Rams at the 33-yard line. Instead of running Todd Gurley and getting the Rams at the 30-yard line or the 27-yard line, right? They trot the field goal team out there on third down. They kick the ball, and he misses it by what? 4 or 5 centimeters? Now, if the Rams run the ball with Todd Gurley, spike it, they're going to be at least a yard closer. I think we can all agree Todd Gurley's going to at least get 3 yards on that run. The field goal is going to be good by 2 or 3 inches. Run the damn ball. What? You're not going to the end zone with the throw. What is the purpose of throwing the ball? When you've got the best back in football, when healthy, hand him the rock, let him get 4 or 5 yards, spike it, kick the field goal, call it a day. Don't let Havenstein jump off sides. But no. So McVay, once again, I don't want to hear anymore what he has to do. I better start seeing him do it. You say you need to run the ball more, then do it. It's driving me nuts. First of all, Jared Goff, I'm going to make another bold prediction for this week coming up. We can't keep having Jared Goff throw the ball 30, 40, 50 times a game. This is getting to the point of ridiculous. But I have a theory about that I want to talk to you about, Eric, at the end of the show. So your takeaway of that game, Eric, because I know you saw it. The Rams, they were game. They played great. They should have won the game. You can call it bad coaching. You can call it stubborn coaching. But at the end of the day, Greg the Leg's got to make that kick. And for all of my banter that I just gave, Greg the Leg missed it. And I'm not going to be mad at Greg because those things happen. Considering that he booted 3 field goals prior to that in key situations that were crucial, I'm not going to worry about it. It is what it is. We move on. We're going to win more games than we lose because of Greg's game-winning field goal tendencies. Take it away.
Yeah, I did. I remember having this as a close game, and it was pretty close throughout. There was only, the last sequence. Yes, I agree. They should have ran the ball. But the only other sequence that I did not like out of the Rams was when they were backed up on their own goal line, trying to get out of there, and it just seemed like they were playing a little hesitant. That was, I believe, it was either in the second or third quarter. But
third.
Yeah, field goal kickers in this case, it happens. That was just one that just happened to sail a little bit right of the upright. So, listen, I know they talk about Seattle being this place where it does a lot of false starts. The Rams had 2 or 3 total in the game.
They had one. They had one.
No, they had 2.
No.
They had 2.
They said when he jumped off sides, that was their first false start of the game.
I thought there was another one in the game, but
There was 3 holding penalties.
But the Rams, I like what the Rams did as far as getting caught early, the ball early and often in the first half. They should have stuck with that in the second half. I didn't see him. I didn't foresee him getting 2 touchdowns, but it's like both of those, he only got touched like once by a pinky finger, and he was in the end zone. So I like what I saw out of Gurley there. I still think you need to see a lot more. And when I say more, 10 to 15 more carries. That's not asking a lot. Not for a Rams team that can score a lot of points and control the ball as well while doing it. But I get it. You're either playing from behind and you got 3 really good wide receivers. And, I know 2 weeks ago there were some comments on the board saying, utilize the tight end, utilize the tight end, utilize the tight end. I want to know if Higby and Gerald Everett were utilized enough for you guys. Like, I'm like, throw the darn ball to Cooper Kupp for reasons because he may or may not be a fantasy team of mine. But I'm like, but there's a reason why. Well, I think you're realizing now how much of a loss Cooper Kupp was more last year when you don't have him and you're used to seeing Woods and Cooks on the field and you don't have Kupp. So when you do have Kupp, you're like, wow, this offense is completely different. Like, it is night and day. It's night and day. But when you add the element of the tight end, especially the field where Edward or even both of you can run the field, and it just opens up all the whole field because nobody knows who to cover. And the Rams did a great job of. I'm going to go back. Let me back up a little bit. The Rams had a tough time hearing when they were in Cleveland. I know I was there. I couldn't imagine Seattle being that much louder as it seemed on TV. And I know everybody's closer in Seattle than they are in Cleveland. But the Rams just do a great job of being able to communicate when the noise is like deafening. And they did. They didn't let it bother them. Yeah, there were penalties here or whatever. There was a false start there. But again, they didn't let it bother them. Goff got the ball out. When there's national talk shows of people, and I'm watching this game and I'm scrolling through Twitter, and when the interception happened with about 2.5 minutes left, I saw a predominant talk show host say, "Oh, that was a game-ending pick right there," and I replied, "Really? How much time is left and how many timeouts do the Rams have? Are you not paying attention? Like, seriously, people don't pay attention. They just get on Twitter and spew their crap." So I'm like, watch the darn game,
Eric, I want to touch on this.
Of course, hold on. Of course not, because what happens? The Rams force the Seahawks to punt, the Rams get the ball back. The Rams go down and have a chance to win. That was not a game-defining interception that happened with Goff.
Not only that, but it wasn't Goff's fault. But Eric, they don't pay attention to the Rams. Do you know how many times I've heard this year that Gerald Everett wasn't a prominent part of the Rams offense last year? I'm sitting there and I'm watching the top 100 games of all time, which is a joke. And they have the Ram Chief Monday night game as one of the top games in top 50 games of all time. Gerald Everett balled that day. I think he had like 8 receptions for over 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. And I heard an announcer, I won't mention names, Joe Buck, say, "Oh, Gerald Everett only had 7 receptions last year." Dude, he had 8 in one game. How are you an NFL analyst and you don't even know what the guy's stats were last year? Like, it blows me away how little they pay attention to the Rams. And you just saw Exhibit A, right? They're not paying attention to the game. They see a pick. They see that Jared Goff threw it. They're going to blame Jared Goff because it's easy to do. It fits their narrative from day one when he got drafted. And they're able to move on and go do something else because they don't want to watch the Rams. That's why they were so pissed off at the championship game. Was the championship game really that big of a deal? The PI? No. I'm watching the Bills.
With challenge flags that are coming out. None of them are getting overturned when it's obvious. That,
Right.
Yeah, it's a bunch of crap.
Right. I'm watching the Bills Oiler game from 92, right? The great comeback. Don Beebe stepped out of bounds. Official that should have been watching the play wasn't paying attention. He scores a touchdown. And there's another play where Don Beebe clearly fumbled the ball. Clearly fumbled the ball. They ruled him down by contact. Replay showed he clearly fumbled the ball. Like, the Oilers got screwed in that game. And I would argue to the Houston Oiler fan base, considering the road to the Super Bowl would have been a division opponent that they beat twice that year or lost to twice that year by the most minuscule of margins, and a Miami team that choked in big games left and right, that the Oilers probably felt like they could have been in the Super Bowl that year, and I bet you they feel like they could have put up a better showing than the 52-17 score, right? Because that's what the Saint fans said about the Rams, right? So I promise you the Oiler fans probably felt the same way. Now, are all things equal? No, the Oilers probably go into Pittsburgh and get the doors blown off. Maybe, maybe not. But I promise you, the Oiler fans, they felt screwed in the greatest, and that game is always in their face. Greatest comeback of all time. It's tainted, but nobody talks about that, right? So I don't think the championship game was anything different than what any other football fan has experienced in their lifetime. 49er fans from 83, as I documented. Oiler fans from 92. And the list goes on and on and on. So the reality is the reason everyone got so pissed off in the media is because they didn't want the Rams going to the Super Bowl. They wanted Drew Brees versus Brady. They already had the trailer, they already had the script, and they already had the story laid out, and they had 2 weeks of nonstop wall-to-wall coverage on Brees versus Brady. And when the Rams stole that game, they completely shut down. They ignored everything Los Angeles and only talked about New England because they were caught with their pants down. They had nothing on the Rams outside of McVay. Nothing on the Rams. They didn't know anything about Corey Littleton. They didn't know the difference in the Rams defense between Talib in the lineup and out of the lineup until later in the week. They didn't realize the impact that the Rams offensive line had in shaping the Rams run to the Super Bowl. They didn't document any of that because they don't pay attention to the Rams. And that game-ending interception thing, I'm glad you spoke up, but that's just par for the course, my brother. That's just par for the course. Because if the Rams are on TV, they're not watching. Unless it's Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, and now they'll look at Teddy Bridgewater because they want the Saints to stay relevant so when Brees comes back, they can talk about the Saints going to the Super Bowl again. The Patriots, right? The Eagles, because they got a hard on for Carson Wentz, no matter what he does or doesn't do. Russell Wilson, those are the people they pay attention to. Everybody else can go to hell. And the Rams are living proof. So it doesn't surprise me. The Rams should have won the game. They didn't. Whatever. Look, before we get to the Ram 49er game, I'm going to steal it. I think I'm going to talk about the game that you want to talk about for week 6. I can't believe I'm saying this, Eric, but I'm saying it. The game I'm most excited to watch and I'm not excited to watch the Ram 49er game, and I'll get to that later. The game I'm most excited to watch, I can't believe I'm saying this, is a Monday night game. The Lions and the Packers. Huh? That's the game I'm excited to see. I want to know, is Detroit for real? Is Green Bay going to listen to LeBron James? Or are they going to listen to their head coach's gut? What are the Lions going to do to stop Aaron Rodgers? Can they stop the running game? How good are those corners? Are they going to be able to shut down the receiving core for Green Bay? And it's a battle for the NFC North's top spot.
Yeah, as long as Darius Slay is back, you can expect Slay to probably match up on Devontae Adams. If Slay is out, I think it's going to be cherry picking time for Aaron Rodgers anytime he wants to throw the ball.
I don't think so.
It's not like the Lions have never won in Green Bay before. I mean, it's like I think they won the last 2 years in Green Bay, and that was even late in the season too. So Um, I'm looking forward to it. I want to see a bloodbath. An old NFC Central showdown, and I think the Lions have the defense that it takes to beat Green Bay this year.
I agree. I agree. I think it's going to be 20-17 Packers with about 3 minutes to go. And I think we're going to see one of those Patton Stafford drives that's going to end with a touchdown pass. And Green Bay is going to be down 24-20 with under a minute to go. And there'll be no Hail Mary. There'll be no antics. Detroit will walk out of Lambeau with a 24-20 victory and sole possession of first place. Or at least...
Yeah, we're close. We're close. 26-23 Lions.
I think it's going to be a fun game to watch, Eric. And I think whether Slay plays or not, I think you're underestimating the Lions secondary a little bit. Look at what they did outside of Slay against Kansas City.
I watched the whole Kansas City game.
So you know.
I know.
They got ballers out there now. This isn't your grandmother's Lions.
They were able to win too. So I want to see it continue.
Yeah, it's an interesting game. Is that the one you wanted to cover?
No. The game that I'm going to cover is Washington, Miami. Does Miami get its first win?
Are you really picking this game? Oh my God.
I'm really picking this game. They're both 0 for nothing.
I think it's going to be a tie.
That would totally be Washington, Miami war right there. 0-0 tie.
Dude, look, I don't know. Really, you're going to pick this game. Why are you picking this game? Like, what are you looking forward to?
Because you root for the Redskins. That's why I'm picking it. And there's no Bear game, so I'm not talking about the Bears, but I want to know your thoughts on Washington at Miami.
I think the Redskins have more problems than a math book, to quote Deion Sanders. I think they're in the Titanic. They're 7 kilometers underwater, and they think they're sinking now. There's a lot of issues. They literally have to completely deconstruct that thing down to the base and rebuild. Miami is in the same exact position. The difference between the two franchises is the Dolphins have draft picks right now. The Redskins do not. So
that's true.
So how are they going to do this? I don't know. On paper, these teams are even. And I think what you can look forward to is Haskins having a little bit of time to throw. I think he's going to have more time.
Haskins isn't even playing.
He will. I'm telling you, he will. I'm telling you, if he doesn't start this game, he will be in there by halftime. I will be shocked at this point if the Redskins don't go with him as the starting quarterback. Who are they going to put in? Huh?
Colt McCoy.
I like Colt. But
I know you do.
Well, it still, my pick is the same. I'm going to pick Washington to win this game because I like the Redskins front four against the Dolphins offensive line better than I like the Dolphins front four against the Redskins offensive line. Trent Williams is still in Washington. He's the best right tackle in football. Left tackle. Huh?
But he's not playing.
He's injured? What else is new?
No, he is not playing.
Oh, he's holding out.
He refuses to play for the Redskins.
That's right. I forgot he's holding out. Damn it. Well, still, I like the Redskins offensive line better than I like the Dolphins front four. Colt McCoy is definitely a better quarterback than Drew Rosen. The problem is he doesn't have anyone to throw to.
If it's hot, give me the Dolphins 13-10.
I'm going to go 14-7 Washington. I think Adrian Peterson and the Redskins defensive line is the difference in this game. I think Colt McCoy is good for a touchdown. I think AP is good for a touchdown rush. And I think that the Redskins are capable of getting to the Dolphins quarterback far more frequently than the Dolphins are going to get to Colt McCoy. It's going to be a poop storm. It's not going to be a good game. And these two teams are really close to one another, and they're about to see how far away they are from their deconstruction project down in Miami. and Washington.
Okay. Okay. Let's do the Rams and Niners really quick.
Okay. I'm going to make a bold prediction. Jared Goff does not finish this game, and he doesn't get benched due to ineffective play. He's going to get injured. And Rob Havenstein is going to be culprit number one on my list of why he gets hurt. I think Jared Goff is going to get sacked 4 or 5 times in this game minimum. I think he's going to get hit another 10 to 16 times in this game. And if the Rams don't run Todd Gurley and make a concerted effort to run the ball, which you can do against this Niner defense now, take a look at what Chubb did with a crappy offensive line against the 49ers. You can run the ball on San Fran. If they're going to drop back and throw 30 to 40 times, Jared Goff's going to get injured. My only hope is that the injury isn't going to be too long lasting. He'll recover by midweek and he'll be able to play against Atlanta. But I think you're going to see a Blake Bortles sighting in this game. I think the Rams can't stop the run, and the 49ers are difficult to stop. The Rams can't protect the quarterback, and the Niners can get after the quarterback. This is a recipe for an unmitigated disaster. The only saving grace, and from a football standpoint, I hope the kid's okay. The running back for San Fran, number 44, I always struggle with his name. Juszczyk. I hope he's okay, but I think it's an MCL injury because he was walking on it, so I don't think it's an ACL, but it's either an MCL or a PCL injury, and those are worse because you think you can play, and once they go, man, it's painful. So I hope I'm wrong, and for his health, I hope he's okay. But if he isn't in this game, I think this gives the Rams a chance because I think the 49ers offense becomes less dynamic. And just take a look at what happened to that team after he left the game. They only scored 3 points after he left the game. They scored 28 points with him in there. So he is a playmaker. He is a difference maker, and they can utilize him different ways. McVay and Shanahan are similar. They run the same offense. So the Rams aren't going to be taken by surprise by what the 49ers are doing. But the problem is, are they going to be able to stop the run? Littleton can't do it alone. Abikiwam is MIA, and the Rams are decimated at linebacker. They've been decimated at linebacker, and the loss of Matthews is only the cherry on top of that poop cake. So it's, everyone's like, what's going on with the Rams linebacking core? They've been injured. 2 of their 3 starters aren't playing. Now, they're down one of their backups in Hager, and they're down Matthews. So there's a lot going on in LA right now. This is just one of those weird years that you just got to go, man, this thing is over. So I'm going to go 49ers over the Rams, and I'm going to say 28-17 Niners. And the Rams drop to 500.
All right, I don't think it's as complicated as you're making it out to be. I believe Goff finishes this game, okay? And I also think the Rams win this game 30-24. And here's how we'll get there. If Cooks is out, which he left the last game against Seattle with concussion, that puts Sherman on Woods. That's still leaving Cup wide open and with not a great cornerback in the slot, which is also going to open up more opportunities for Gerald Everett. But yes, run Gurley, run towards Bosa, make him make plays and stop the run. Do it, and you're going to win. Greg Zuerlein's going to hit 2 more field goals, 3 more field goals, whatever it is. He's going to be fine. And the Rams come out of this with a victory.
Okay.
With that being said, San Francisco, though, just, if Donald and the run defense is there and producing, they can shut down Breida and Coleman. It's not going to be that difficult.
I hope you're right, but I don't know. And the Niners look good, but I'm sticking with it. I definitely could see the Rams winning this game, but they're going to have to do everything you just said and utilize a tight end. Or I should say, continue to utilize a tight end. All right. Now, a couple things really quick. I want to touch on this. How do you fix it? That's what everyone's telling me. Anthony, how do you fix the Rams? It's really, really, really simple. The first thing that you got to do is you could do this one of 2 ways. This is what I would do. Bear with me, Eric. I trade Robert Woods to Washington for Trent Williams. I wouldn't just trade Robert Woods, though. I trade Robert Woods and a third-round draft pick and a third-rounder next year for Trent Williams. I hate to do that because I like Robert Woods, but you could easily put Reynolds in his place. You won't get the same productivity, but you're going to get good productivity out of him. You still got Kupp, you still got Cooks, you still got Gurley, and now you've got a right tackle coupled with Whitworth. You've got Noteboom, you've got Allen, Blythe is serviceable, and then you spend your draft capital on a tackle and a guard. Two guards to replace Noteboom moving to left tackle and to replace Blythe and put him back as a backup where he belongs. I think you spend your free agent capital on a defensive lineman. Now, I wouldn't be against trading Brockers. As much as I like Brockers, he's a one-trick pony, and his one trick isn't really doing a good job of stopping the run, as the Rams have struggled in that department for 3 years. You could trade Brockers, but you've got to get a run-stuffing defensive tackle alongside Aaron Donald, who's capable of putting some pressure on the quarterback. I don't know who that is. We'll have to see what the free agent pool looks like. I think the Rams will be fine as long as they also spend their free agent capital on a safety. I don't like Weddle. I don't like Peters, but corners are harder to find than safeties. You could move Taylor Rapp to corner and find yourself a safety and boot Peters out of there, but you got to keep Talib because he's not the problem, and he's a leader on that defense. Do you agree with the fix?
I think the one trade that the Rams need to make is for Trent Williams and call it a day.
You think that'll fix it?
I think it would go a long way into helping out their pass protection and the run game. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I would agree with that. I think we can agree that's the guy.
I would do that, but I wouldn't trade Woods. I would trade a 1 and a 2.
I don't want to trade a first-round pick. There's too many linemen.
I really don't, but that's what it's going to take.
Well, but then we don't do it because you can get less expensive, younger offensive linemen. Trent Williams is an old guy now. I understand how good he is, but he's old. We've already got Whitworth, and we cannot continue to let our division draft good linemen like McGlinchey while we're being left in the dust with veteran old guys that can and have a history, like Trent Williams, of breaking down. Do not trade a number 1 and number 2. I can go with a 2 and maybe Brockers, but do not trade a number 1 for an offensive lineman that may have 4 to 5 years left in him. We've got to get younger on that line, and we've got to get better.
True.
So.
True, I hear you on the getting younger part, but I mean, so I don't know. I guess it all depends on if Washington's willing to dance, but.
Well, that's a big thing. And now that they got an offensive line coach being the head coach, we'll have to wait and see. Eric, anything else you want to add before we split?
No, like I said, I'll reiterate. I think if you're the Bears during the bye week, you have to take a look at everything you got, and I would trade a 2 or a 3 to go get Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah.
If Denver's really thinking about blowing it up, and I know there's Von Miller over there and whatnot, but why not try to trade for Sanders and see where that offense could take you with another really good wide receiver who's come off an Achilles injury that he doesn't even look like it even happened.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I think it's going to be an active trade deadline, and we'll touch more on that as we hit the Rams bye week, because that's going to be the week of the trade deadline. That's week 9 now. They no longer do it in week 6. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm Anthony.
I'm Eric.
Horns up.
Bear down.
Go Rams!
And the Bears are on a bye week with their wounds.
Total Football Talk out.